So many of us like to blame our parents for the life that we were brought up in. Like to blame haters, like to blame the enemy, like to blame demons, whatever the case may be. But I'm here to tell you that of all those things, which I agree and I understand and I feel your pain, I promise. But I do know that your biggest enemy, your biggest obstacle is yourself. For so long, I've allowed myself to feel like pity or shame or whatever. And you see, and I told you guys in a previous video that yes, the enemy will try to plant a seed. So when you were a little kid and when someone made you feel like you weren't good enough, you weren't smart enough, you weren't cool enough, your clothes weren't in style enough, you weren't funny enough, whatever the case may be, your parents made you feel like you weren't worthy of love, that you had to do A, B, and C to be, loved, right? That is just the seed that the enemy will plant. And sometimes the enemy will use the people that we love the most, the people that we love the most, to plant that seed for him. And we have to forgive each other because we don't know. Sometimes it comes in the form of impulse. Sometimes it comes in a form of like impatience, right? Have you ever done something in an impulse where you're just like, just stop talking. You're so annoying. And we're just saying it out of frustration, right? Maybe we had a long day, but we don't know that we're planting a seed that the enemy wants us to plant. And you don't know what that's going to do to the person that you're talking to. And our parents or our friends or loved ones or, have done this to us at different points in life. And you're still healing from these things. So I want to tell you that I recognize that. I recognize that. And I want us to look what happens after that is we then are the ones that water that seed. You have been spending so long of your life watering the seed of incompetence, watering the seed of stupidity, watering the seed of uncool or weird or annoying or unattractive, right? You've been watering the seed that the enemy has planted in your heart and your mind. And when I tell you that you are the farmer, you're the one that is tending to the soil of your heart, and you have to protect your garden. And when you realize that the enemy can try to throw seeds as much as they want. If you can just learn to not water those seeds, you will be unstoppable. Glory to God. You will be unstoppable. You see, and this is the message I want everyone to leave with today from this video is that you are the person tending to the soil of your heart. And you have to be mindful of the seed you water. Now, how do you be mindful of this? Think of your mind and your heart, right? Because oftentimes your mind is going to process based on how you feel. So many of us are analyzing how things make us feel, right? But oftentimes too, random thoughts will come through your mind from your subconscious that aren't yours. So this is how a thought will creep in, and we will think that this is from our soul or from our heart or whatever the case may be. And you might grab onto that thought and you might zoom in on that thought and you might analyze it and break it down and figure out where did this come from. And it doesn't belong to you. It is a seed that the enemy is trying to plant. And when you start to give too much thought to that seed, right? To that intrusive thought, you begin watering it. You begin watering it. And this happens to so many people. This happens to so many of us. So many of us. And you get lost in that, right? It can look like this. You can look like this. You come to work and everyone's kind of in a group, and you're like, oh, what's going on? And you think, they're talking about me. They don't like me. And the enemy is like, yeah, there goes the seed. And the people didn't like greet you like, hey, what's up? Good morning. How you doing? You know what I mean? We were just talking about so and so. Nah, they don't do that. They're just kind of like quiet. Everybody's chilling. So it's like, so it adds to the intrusive thoughts you're having. And now you're like, dang, what did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? Why don't they like me, right? And you start to think, and try to solve a problem that doesn't exist. The enemy doesn't have to go plant more seeds because you've been watering this bad seed, the seed that is not your own, that is not from your own heart, that is not from God's will. It is literally something that is put there to distract you, to throw you off, to make you feel smaller, right? I like to tell people, man, that and try to remind myself this is that it said that God knew your name before you were born. He knew you. He knew you. So that means reminds me that he has a plan for us. And the enemy can see that you're chosen. The enemy can see the calling you have on your life, how amazing you are. And he doesn't want the good that God has planted in your heart to be given to the world. He doesn't want that. So the best thing he could do is stop you from realizing who you are. So he plants all these negative thoughts in your mind for you to water because you think that these are there for you, for your protection, for your defense, and they're not. They're only there for your distraction, for your confusion to derail you from God's plan for you. These are not your thoughts. But see, there's two versions of you. There is the version of you that God intends for you to be, that God put you here to be. And then there's the version of you that the enemy is working so hard to make you become. And every day, in every thought, in every action, you are either acting towards God's will or acting towards the enemy's will. I used to drink every day. I used to smoke weed every day. I used to smoke black and milds, cigarettes every day. I used to hook up with multiple girls. I used to watch pornography. I used to do a lot of things that I know were distracting me and derailing me from God's plan for my life, and was actually the enemy's plan for my life. And the longer you sit in that, you start to identify with this and you lose sight of who you really are. I was watching this video the other day, man, glory to God, and it's a pastor talking like it's like a therapy session. And he said that most of you are depressed because you have depressed your authentic self. Most of you feel depressed because you have depressed who you are truly supposed to be. And that's why every day you feel depressed, because you are not living in your true authentic self. You have allowed yourself to be a lesser version of you, to be the enemy's version of you, instead of being who God intended you to be. And that's why you are not happy. That's why you are depressed, because you have been shoving who you really are down and out of existence. And you're just knocking at the door, clawing. It's like you've been buried alive. And you're hoping someone hears you screaming to set you free. But the only one that can hear you is you. The only one that knows you're there is God and the enemy. And God has given you all the power and capability to free yourself. God has already loosened the lock. The lock is not even there. But in your mind, it's locked. In your mind, it's locked. Because you've been pulling at the door. And in reality, it's a push door. It's a door you gotta push. You gotta push it. It's never gonna open when you pull. It's only gonna open when you push. It's not locked. It's just in your mind. You have been fighting against yourself. And you've been convincing yourself that you are cheering for yourself. But in reality, you are your opposition. And until you realize that you are not being your true, authentic self, you will never get rid of the depression. You won't be able to shake this feeling of all the seeds, like until you go tend to the garden of your heart, tend to the garden of your mind, and pull all of the seeds out that do not belong to you, that do not belong to the version of you that God intends you to be. All the bad seeds, all the bad roots, taking out the garden. And you know how a lot of this stuff works if we're thinking about flowers, right? It's pollination. It's just like we're getting so deep, but they're spreading. This one seed is multiplying and it's spreading in your mind, it's spreading in your heart. And you got work to do. You got healing to do. You gotta tend to the garden of your heart. Tend to the garden of your mind. Tend to the garden of your soul. You have too much there that is of your flesh and does not serve you, but serves the enemy. And I'm talking about good people. I'm talking about all people, but also I'm talking to good people as well. You know, and you feel it in there. You feel it in there. How can I get rid of this? How can I get rid of this? And so many of us, we look at the fruit that grew from this seed, and we're like, why is all my fruit turning out like this? And we examine the fruit and we curse the fruit. And in reality, you need to go to the garden, get down on your knees, pray for understanding, pray for forgiveness, pray for guidance, pray for assistance to find where the bad seeds are. Dig up the seeds, take out the roots, and rid it of your garden so that you can heal, so that you can grow, so that you can be your true, authentic self. No more of dealing with, I understand they have you on these mental health medicine, they have you on all these different things and things like that. I was on that before too. I had depression medicine, I had anxiety medicine, I had these different things. But I tell you, it doesn't help. It only tries to help the fruit. It only tries to help the fruit. It does not take out the seed. It does not clean and tend to your garden. You have to pray, pull the seeds out, take out the roots, be very intentional about healing and growing. And then can you start the process again to be your true authentic self. I love you guys. I want you guys to be who God put you here to be. Because the world needs you to be you. Because we're missing you. There's a void. And we're missing you. And we need you to show up. But you can't do that right now until you heal. Okay? I love you. Talk to you in the next video.